Our house too?
No.
Janelle?
No. Say hi, Meme.
Hi, Meme.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Tell us how you met. Both of you have to tell the story.
You go ahead.
Speak slowly and clearly.
I picked her up.
What?
Speak slowly and clearly.
Okay. I had been out to eat my supper or dinner with a friend over at a diner in Muskogee on Broadway.
Give her the address.
And on the way home, this car pulled up, and there was a girl and a lieutenant in it. The girl, my friend and I didn't particularly like the girl. She worked in the same office with us, but she was a man chaser.
Oh.
And so the lieutenant came over and said, oh, let's see. She opened my raincoat and said, oh, that's a cute outfit. And so he came over and did the same thing, and I thought, ugh. So anyway, he said, I'm taking her to work. Do you want to go out with me tonight? And I said, no, not particularly. And so my friend kept saying, go, it'll make Mary mad.
And Mary was the girl
Mary was the girl with him. So I said, okay, you can pick me up.
She was cute.
Mary was cute.
So was Betty.
I think Betty was cuter.
So we walked our 2 blocks home, and he said, you go home and change your clothes, and I'll come and pick you up. And so on the way home, I said, what's wrong with my clothes? Fern. Fern was the girl I was with.
Mm.
And she said, nothing. And I said, well, I'm not going to change my clothes just to go out with him. So
She's still changing.
anyway, after we got over to our place, the lady we lived with, I had a room there, and Fern and her husband had a room there also. But he couldn't come home every night. So Fern said, Betty, just wear the clothes you've got on. So I said, okay. So we all went upstairs and introduced him to Mrs. Shaner. And of course he put on the old charm act. Oh, blah, blah, you know. You've heard it before. And Mrs. Shaner said, well, do you know him? Yeah. And I didn't. And I said, well, we're just going out for a Coke. So we did. We went out for a Coke. But that was the start. We lived in an upstairs, I lived in an upstairs duplex.
And why were you there?
Oh, I was.
This was in Hannibal? No, this was in
Muskogee, Oklahoma, Camp Gruber, 1942.
And Pepe, why were you there?
Because I had to be.
Well, talk about your assignment there.
I was in service, that's all.
He was a second lieutenant
In the Army.
in the Army, infantry. And I was working for Civil Service Signal Corps in Camp Gruber.
And you were typing?
Teletype operator. And Camp Gruber was 25 miles from Muskogee, over rough dirt roads on an old rickety bus. Let's see, what else?
Well, you talk about your after you met. You
Oh, we went out that night, and
you were dating somebody else at the time.
Edwin?
You were dating somebody else at the time.
Oh, me? Yeah. Except he was in Illinois.
But he came down to visit.
He came to visit, you're right. And Art wanted to know all about him. Well, how come this or how come that? Is he just going to come to visit you or what? Are you engaged? No. I thought, he is the nosiest man I have there.
Still is.
But anyway, let's see what else. we went to the pig stand. The pig stand had wonderful barbecue sandwiches and Susie Q potatoes. And that was a good meal. I always took every meal I could for free when possible. Rest.
And to
ate.
participate.
I don't know what the hell you want me to do.
Just tell your perspective on when you and Meme met.
I saw her and I needed a date. I asked her. I thought maybe she'd make a good.
A good date.
I did make a good one.
So then,
We didn't do it that night.
oh great.
So that night, after the pig stand, he drove me to Honor Heights Park, which was just a short distance away. And Honor Heights Park is a beautiful park in Muskogee, full of azaleas.
Mm.
And so as we drove through the park, I said, I should have known, I should have known, I should not have even gotten in the car with you. I don't know you, I've never met you before, and here I am in a park. And he said, well, I'm not gonna do anything. I said, well, I just wanna go home. And he said, well, we talked about church, and I said I was a Catholic. He said he was a Catholic. Then he said,
Pepe, put that down. Put that down.
You know, you're getting to be a pain in the ass. You know.
Okay, Meme, keep going. Sorry.
anyhow, he said, well, I'm not going to do anything, so he kissed me. And I said, no, I don't like being kissed like that either. So anyway, he said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, well, you let me know and I'll be sure and be there.
And what'd you think about that, Pepe?
What did I think about what? About her?
Yeah.
I thought, well, we'll just see. Experiment.
And Meme, you've said before that you left it up to fate because you had been dating somebody else and that Pepe followed you around.
Oh yeah, that was like the next night or two.
So Bob came in town.
Uh-huh. And he was, Art was always there. And from the time I came home from work till he had to leave and be back. He was always there. I didn't even have time to wash out my undies.
He was at your apartment, or?
I had a room in a rooming house with Mrs. Shaner. And during wartime, you were lucky to have a place to sleep. And I had been in an apartment hotel, and I didn't like it because I was afraid. Anyway. So
How much was Mrs. Shaner's a day?
What?
How much did it cost to live there?
I think it cost me $30 a month.
Gosh.
And then my bus
Pretty
tickets,
damn expensive.
were $25 a month. So I didn't have a great deal of money.
Well, that's $1 a day.
Huh?
That's $1 a day.
I know. And then the bus tickets were $25, and
25 cents
and then my $25
a month.
for the month. And then you had the food, and I was making $105 a month.
Oh, gosh.
So it was exciting. We were making ends meet. Mrs. Shaner was a lovely, lovely lady, and she looked after us like an old mother hen.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob came into town and you went to a play?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and we went to a movie. I can't remember what it was. I
Your
think
memory's failing.
it was what?
Your memory's failing, I can see.
Well, he also, I didn't particularly want to go out, except he said he'd take me to see Ted Lewis. And Ted Lewis was a band leader or singer in a small band. And I wanted to go and didn't have enough money, so I went with him to see Ted Lewis. And when my boyfriend was in town,
Bob?
Bob, and Art followed us around. How'd that work? Anyhow, he followed us around the whole time. And
Why'd you follow her around, Pepe?
I didn't.
he was nosy.
I don't remember.
In fact, he watched us and we couldn't sit on the front porch because he was sat in a car across the street.
Oh, you're full
And finally, Bob said, what is he, what? I said, I don't know why he's following me around. And Bob said, well, I can tell you why. He must like you. So when I went back down, we finally, there was an inside stairway. We were upstairs in the duplex. There was an inside stairway. So Bob and I finally went and sat on the stairs so he couldn't see us.
on. Is that right?
Yep.
And then Bob left, and then what happened?
And Bob finally said, well, you must have something going with him. I said, I don't. And he brought me a ring, an engagement ring, that he didn't give to me. He showed it to me. And so he was at the hotel. So he went back down to the hotel. And he was very angry and hurt. I knew that. He told me so when I met him 40 years later. Anyhow, that was it.
So Pepe, how did you propose?
I did. I just said, let's get married.
Where'd you get the ring?
I don't know.
McEntee's.
Oh, in Muskogee? Yeah.
Was it a gold band or
Hmm?
what
No, it
was
was an engagement ring.
it? With the diamond or?
Very small diamond.
Very small.
Your father got a magnifying glass or a microscope for Christmas one year, and he said, oh, Mother, let me see your engagement ring. And he took it and put it under the microscope.
So, and then you were married on December.
We were going to visit my mother and dad in Oklahoma City on their anniversary,
What was their anniversary?
the 22nd of November. So we came to Oklahoma City, and I had an engagement ring, and I think he thought that would bind me. And it so happened that since we were there on Mother and Daddy's anniversary, it's a big deal, so he went down and got flowers and candy and the whole bit for Mother.
Charming.
Yeah, charming. Anyhow, it was a weekend, then we went back to Muskogee, drove. He had a Chevrolet,
No.
what,
Plymouth.
Plymouth, I don't remember. It was blue. Anyhow, let's see, what else?
December 31st, 1942.
And then we had to have letters from the priest back home that we were both Catholics. Lots of red tape. And we'd been to see Father Gorski. He was the Army chaplain with the 350th, the 88th Division, 350th Infantry. Was a battalion, or
I don't even remember those things, I mean, that you come up with.
I knew he'd failed, but
So you've been married 60 years.
last December 31st. We got married in the Army Chapel at Camp Gruber, Oklahoma, in Muskogee County, I think. We got married then, and a base was alerted, so nobody could come to the wedding, except they did let the singers come, the guys that had promised to sing at the wedding, Ave Maria and all those little things. Then we went for a wedding breakfast into a restaurant in Muskogee, and we had a wedding breakfast with a cake.
After your first night together?
No, after the wedding.
Oh, okay. Oh, because you got married the morning.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And my mother and father and little brother, Frank, were there, and Aunt Hallie and Uncle Joe were there.
Now, Pepe, did you send your family a telegram telling them what happened, or how did you let them know?
I was talking on the phone with her, and I don't know, I don't remember that.
Well, they knew we were getting married.
Yeah.
And you hadn't met them yet?
I had not met them.
Okay.
They'd written to me, and my mother had written to them, of course. And let's see, what else?
So what are your words of wisdom on marriage? If you could give,
Don't get married.
well,
Try to keep your sense of humor. Try.
you've done a lot of that, haven't you, Mama?
If you don't, you'll go crazy. He signed up to join paratroopers. That was at a time when you had to have your wife's consent to join. So he signed up right before we got married.
So he didn't have to ask you.
No. So that's how he got in the paratroopers, and then we.
But I got more money. $50 more a month.
I don't remember that either.
Well, I did.
What'd you do with the money?
Now, the first time you jumped out of a plane, did you have somebody strapped onto you that had done it before? Or the first
No.
time you jumped out of a plane, it was completely
You went by yourself though.
okay. And you were training to do this at Camp Gruber.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
No?
At Fort Benning, we were transferred to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Oh, okay. How long after you'd been married?
About a month and a half. We went in
okay.
February.
Okay. And were you trying to have a baby, or were you just leaving it up to
it
God?
was an accident.
Oh, okay. And that's where Marguerite was conceived, correct?
Where she what?
Where she was conceived
No.
was in Georgia.
Well, yes.
I don't remember the instance.
Well,
I
but-
do. You had a broken leg.
Okay, so did you go to school? You went to school at Fort Benning for paratrooping, and how long did that last?
Oh, a couple of months. I broke my leg, and
On a jump, you broke it.
so I was in the hospital there for a while with a broken leg.
Did they still pay you?
Oh yeah.
They did.
What little they paid.
Yeah. And so, how long after that did you go? Did World War II start up and you received your assignment?
Oh, World War was already on.
Okay, so you had been prepared, thinking, okay, my husband's going to have to go overseas. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many men did we have over there by this time when you were married?
Oh, have no idea.
Hundreds of thousands?
They didn't talk about numbers then that
No,
would give the enemy.
everything was secret.
Well, where was the first place you were stationed in Europe?
First he had to go to the hospital to get his leg fixed.
Right. And then you healed from that.
And then we went to Fort McClellan, Alabama, while his leg fully recovered.
And then you were still paratrooping after your leg recovered?
No.
You didn't do that anymore?
Well,
Was Armand over there yet?
No.
he
No.
did.
No, he wasn't yet.
Well, because he met Marguerite, so he...
Yeah.
Okay, so where were you stationed? Where was your first stationing in Europe?
I guess
He left from
England, I guess.
He left from Indiantown Gap, Pennsylvania, didn't you?
No, I left in New York.
Oh. What port?
New York.
New York's a big place.
Well, probably from Manhattan.
I don't
From
know
the,
what.
well, I don't know. They didn't usually have troop movements leaving from there, but
so then you went to London?
Well, went to Nova Scotia first, and then took a train down to London, and then
Nova Scotia, you took a train?
from there, yeah. They crossed us over to the mainland, but
And then you took a train to London, and where did you go from there?
then we were there till the D-Day.
Oh, okay. So, how many people, what was your rank?
At that time,
Oh, lieutenant.
lieutenant.
How many people were you over?
Oh, quite a few. I don't remember it now, but.
Probably about 20? 20 or more than that?
200, would you believe?
200. And tell us about how you earned one of your Purple Hearts, your first Purple Heart.
Well, let's see.
Speak very clearly.
Speak clearly.
Come on, participate.
I don't remember exactly, but it seemed like some German came at me and I didn't duck fast enough and,
I thought you all were trying to take a town or a village.
no, that was the second one.
So a German came at you, you tried to duck, and he got you where?
Well,
Across the forehead
mhm,
with a knife?
mhm.
And then what did you do?
Then I almost killed him.
You said, damn.
And then was he with other soldiers, all
Oh,
the
yeah, he
other
was
German
German.
soldiers? And then you took your men away from that ambush, or what?
Well, no, this is the second one. That's in Germany.
Oh, okay. Where was this? Was this in France?
No, this was in Panama.
In Panama.
Panama? Oh, I thought you said you went to London.
We're really off track, you know.
You sure are.
Okay, so you went from Nova Scotia to London, and then you were there until D-Day.
Right.
Now, when did this first Purple Heart take place?
It occurred prior
To going to
or
London?
right after the war was declared in Panama.
Okay, so you went from New York. When were you in Panama?
I was in Panama in 19.
Before I met you.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay,
See, he's got it screwed up.
okay. Well, no, that's okay. So, okay. And then a German came at you in Panama, got you on the forehead with a knife, and then what happened? You were with other men and he was with other men?
Yeah. I don't know what you're trying to get at right now.
I'm just trying to find out some
Chronological order.
right, some factual
Well,
parts of.
I just got to tell you about the first one.
Okay,
The second one was in Germany.
okay. Do you know what town or
Yeah.
what town is it?
Holly.
Halle, Germany. Is that in the south?
Hmm?
Was that at the time? Was that East Germany or West Germany?
At that time it was east.
Okay.
Well, it was on the border. We were on the border of
Of the Berlin
we were
Wall.
getting ready to meet the Russians.
Was it Belgium?
Oh, no.
Well, where was the Bridge of Rehbogen?
Well, it was over there by, well, I don't remember the name of the town, but
And when was the Battle of the Bulge?
it was right there. That's when I got the second one,
Now there was a fire there at the Battle of the Bulge. There was a fire that you rescued people from, or
well, I didn't rescue people from them. They rescued me. The Frenchmen did, French people.
oh.
But,
And where was the Battle of the Bulge?
well, it was in Belgium, really, I
Okay.
guess. I can't remember all the name of those towns.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was there. It was right there when the Germans were trying to get back everything that we'd won, and it didn't work.
Now this was after D-Day.
Oh, God, yes. This is almost the end of the war.
Okay. Was it? What was the weather like? What were the conditions you had to?
I had about a foot of snow, and it was horrible.
Were you well equipped with shoes
No.
and coats and?
Oh, I had some, but
It was like a blizzard.
but the Germans took my shoelaces even.
Did they? Well, at what point did they take your shoelaces? How did they take them?
Well, because I was passed out.
Oh, but they didn't kill you.
You know, they thought they did, but they didn't.
So you had passed out while they were taking your things, or were you acting?
No, they hit me, the tank hit me, and I passed out, or I guess I did. I don't
You went
know.
unconscious.
I woke up a long time afterwards, my shoelaces were gone, everything I had on me was gone, billfold. Did we get that billfold back, didn't we?
Yes, I've seen it. Does it have a bullet
Yeah,
in it? Yeah.
and,
Now from there you had to go to a hospital, I'm sure.
no, I got back to the French lines, that French underground. Then they got me back to the Americans, and then I went to the hospital.
Okay. And I've heard a few stories about just when you were over there. My mother told me to ask you the plaster of Paris story.
The what?
Oh, plaster Paris.
The plaster of Paris story. So, would you tell that story? We're almost done.
The what?
When you were in the field,
Yeah.
you and some guys hadn't had anything to eat in a long time, and you came to a farmhouse.
Yeah.
The plaster of Paris.
Yeah, and
Oh. Well, it was just that when we were taking over a town, we were looking for something to eat, and mostly some chickens or some eggs maybe, and we didn't have anything, and
in the basement of the house.
we were in the basement of the house, and I thought there was flour, and got to mixing it up, and
Cooked the chicken.
the next day the spoon was stuck in it, and we knew it kind of doesn't do much good for your BMs.
Oh. Any other funny stories or?
No, it was no fun.
Yeah. And Meme, I'm sure you missed him dearly.
What?
I'm sure you missed him dearly.
Oh, yes, Marguerite had her first birthday while he was gone.
How long before Marguerite met Pepe?
Oh, well, she was about 6 months old when he left.
Oh, okay.
And then, I guess she was a
Year and a half.
year and a half when he came home. And she would carry a picture of him around. And when he came home to Connecticut, they said, "This is your daddy." And she said, "No." And got the picture. That was her daddy.
You know who I am. They didn't have to introduce themselves.
So, how long have you been married?
3 years.
Gabriel? Get in the game. All right. Now, where did you meet?
We met at OSU in Stillwater.
And, Gabe, why don't you tell us about that day?
What day?
There wasn't
day you
a
met.
specific day.
No, it wasn't a specific day that we met.
You don't remember the first day you met?
I think I met her at a Halloween party.
Was it kind of hazy because y'all had been drinking, or?
I don't know. Why don't you come over here and sit down? That thing is not gonna move. You don't sit there and watch it.
I know, I was
just making sure.
We first time we met was at his fraternity house.
Look at.
The first time it's hard to talk to a camera.
I've been sitting in a little chair.
We met in the fraternity house and were introduced there. And it was he just kind of looked at me and said hi.
Speak
And then was
loudly and clearly.
continually talking to these other people and just didn't pay much attention to me. That's probably why he doesn't remember. What else? He had his baseball cap on.
Mm-hmm. So,
The first time I saw him without the baseball cap on, I didn't recognize him on campus. And so he thought I was rude and stuck up because I didn't say hi back to him. I didn't know who he was.
we went on there for a while, and she dated my cousin.
What was his name?
His name was Austin.
What? I didn't hear you.
I said Austin.
And?
They dated, and we become good friends while they were dating.
It was a stormy relationship. Anyway, he had an internship in Florida. He was in Florida for a semester while Gabe and I became better friends and got closer. We had some things in common, family things in common.
Like what?
Divorced parents.
Parents split up and just.
Bratty younger sisters.
Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if we were having problems or whatever. We just found it really easy to talk to each other. So, Austin and I ended up getting married and divorced shortly thereafter.
How long were you married?
11 months. And then I moved back to Oklahoma City. I was in San Antonio. and I moved back to Oklahoma City, and Gabe and I started hanging out again, and the rest is history.
Why don't you tell us how you proposed to Janelle? Tell us about that day.
Well, let's see. I think did I just come over to your
How
house?
how we decided to get married, or
No, just
how
about
he
the
actually
day.
gave me the ring.
All of it. You're making this harder than it is.
We're talking about, well, first time that I guess, was when we found out Kaylee was on the way. And I was over to her house, and she said that she thought she was pregnant. And so we went and bought a test and came back, and she didn't want to take a look at the test. She made me go take a look.